We've been taught since childhood that movement equals progress. Do more, hustle harder, chase the dream. Even rest is something to be earned. But what if this idea is fundamentally flawed? What if stillness, true embodied stillness, is not the absence of progress, but the very space in which real creation begins? Picture a blank canvas before a masterpiece is painted. Imagine the silence before a symphony begins. These aren't voids. They're wombs, sacred incubators of possibility. Stillness, when truly understood, isn't emptiness. It's potential. In our fast-paced world, we've come to fear stillness. We confuse it with laziness, indecision, or even failure. But this confusion is what keeps so many of us trapped in cycles of burnout, chasing, and shallow accomplishments that never seem to satisfy. Because here's the truth. Doing more isn't always becoming more. Quantum philosophy tells us that everything begins in the field of potentiality, a space where all outcomes exist until observed. Stillness is our bridge to that field. When we are truly still, mentally and emotionally, we tap into the infinite sea of options that reality holds. This isn't just poetry. Consider moments in your life when a breakthrough came not through effort, but through surrender. When you stopped obsessing over the outcome and the answer appeared like magic. That wasn't luck. That was resonance. You finally matched the frequency of the outcome you were seeking by letting go of resistance. The modern world trains us to react, respond, and stay busy. But every time you pause, to breathe, to notice, to feel without judging, you disrupt the unconscious momentum that's been pulling you away from your true power. Stillness is subversive in a culture of noise, and that's precisely why it's so powerful. Stillness doesn't mean sitting on a mountain in silence, though it can. It's about creating space in your inner world. It's listening between your thoughts, trusting the calm beneath the chaos. It's feeling the energy of your body before rushing to fix your mind. And in that space, something remarkable happens. The illusion of separation dissolves. You remember that you are not a machine for productivity. You are a vessel for possibility. Ask yourself, when was the last time you allowed yourself to do nothing? Not as a tactic to rest, but as an act of trust. Trust that life is organizing itself for you when you stop forcing outcomes. Trust that clarity arises not from more thinking, but from deeper being. Stillness is not what happens when the world stops. It's what you discover when you stop needing it to move. And from this space, this sacred silence within, you begin to feel the quantum calm, the still, humming field from which all change emerges. So, where in your life have you mistaken movement for meaning? Where are you still chasing noise when all you needed was silence? We often hear that we create our own reality, but how deeply do we understand what that really means? Most people assume it's about taking action, working hard, staying positive, checking boxes. But what if reality responds less to what we do and more to the level of consciousness we occupy while doing it? Let's borrow an idea from quantum physics, not in the textbook sense, but in a metaphorical, intuitive way. In the famous double-slit experiment, particles of light behave like waves until someone observes them. The act of observation literally changes their behavior. In essence, reality is altered by presence. Now let's bring that into our everyday life. What if your attention is not just a passive thing, but an active sculptor of your world? When you worry, fear, or doubt, you're unintentionally tuning your inner frequency to match what you don't want. And the universe, neutral like the quantum field, responds not to your desires, but to your dominant state of being. Presence is more than just mindfulness. It is awareness without resistance, consciousness without clinging. When you bring that kind of presence to a problem, the problem shifts, not because the external circumstance magically vanishes, but because your alignment with it changes the outcome. This is why some people seem lucky, not because they are favored by the universe, but because they are favorably attuned. They've stopped living as reactors and have become observers. quietly, powerfully holding space for life to organize itself around their intentional awareness. Have you ever walked into a room where someone was seething with unspoken anger? They said nothing, but you felt it. That's the power of vibration, your internal state broadcasting into the field long before words or actions arrive. Now flip that. Think of someone who walks into chaos but emanates calm. Reality bends around them. That too is quantum influence. It's not about pretending you're okay when you're not. It's about cultivating an inner presence that doesn't depend on what's happening. Your true power begins where reactivity ends. This still observant energy doesn't fight the storm, it's the I within it. Every time you pause to witness your own thoughts without identifying with them, you collapse an old version of self. You're no longer the fearful child, the hustling adult, or the story of who you thought you needed to be. You're the one who sees, and that is the beginning of transformation. Try this. The next time life throws you into uncertainty, don't ask, "What do I do?" Instead, ask, "What part of me is observing this? And can I choose a calmer observer?" Because it's not the world you change first. It's the lens. There's a strange irony in the human condition. We spend most of our lives trying to become something we already are. We chase love, worthiness, abundance, peace, hoping that one day the right set of achievements will unlock the feeling we've been denied. But manifestation doesn't work that way. You can't chase what you already are. Think about it. A radio doesn't need to build a new antenna to hear its favorite song. It simply needs to tune into the right frequency. You too are a frequency. And the life you want? It already exists at a vibrational level. Your job is not to fight for it, but to tune into it. The problem is, most people try to manifest from a place of lack. I want more money because I don't have enough. I want a relationship because I'm lonely. That energy broadcasts to the field, I am not enough. And the field, ever responsive, mirrors that signal back. But when you align with the feeling of already being, already having, something changes. You're no longer a beggar at the gate of your dreams. You're the architect standing on land you already own, designing the future from sovereignty, not scarcity. Have you ever noticed that when you stop obsessing over getting something, it often arrives? That's not coincidence. That's coherence. Your desperation dissipated, you return to your natural state of worthiness. And the universe, unburdened by your neediness, could finally meet you. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about embodying the version of you who already lives in the reality you want. How would they walk? Speak? Rest? Decide? Not to fake it, but to fuse with it. Because the truth is, manifestation isn't about asking for what you want. It's about remembering you are it. This is the root of quantum calm. It's not passive detachment, but powerful surrender. A deep inner knowing that says, what I'm looking for is already mine. I just need to match it. Imagine the difference between someone knocking on every door hoping to be chosen, and someone who builds their own home and lights a lantern in the window. That light? It draws what is meant for you, not through striving, but through being. Ask yourself, where in your life are you still striving to prove your worth when your very existence is already enough? Where are you delaying your peace until something external confirms what your soul already knows? You don't need to deserve what's already aligned with you. You only need to stop pushing it away by believing you are separate from it. Most people don't realize how loud scarcity is. It's not always a dramatic panic or visible desperation. Sometimes it's subtle, showing up as rushing through your day, multitasking out of fear of falling behind, comparing yourself to others even when you know better. Scarcity whispers through the way we breathe, the way we clutch our phones, the way we can't sit still for more than 5 minutes without needing a reason. Scarcity isn't just about money. It's a vibration of not enough. Not enough time, not enough love, not enough self-worth. And when we vibrate in scarcity, our choices become rooted in fear. We overextend, we overexplain, we overthink. Because underneath it all, we don't feel safe just being. Stillness changes that. Not because it fixes the outer problem, but because it rewires the field from which we respond. When you train your nervous system to feel safe in stillness, you stop needing constant proof of your worth. You stop chasing validation because you start recognizing your own presence as enough. Take the example of someone recovering from burnout. Often it's not just physical exhaustion, it's spiritual depletion from years of operating in survival mode. In stillness, that person begins to reintroduce safety into their body. A few deep breaths, a walk without headphones, a meal eaten slowly. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. Because in those quiet choices, the body learns, I don't need to hustle to be loved. I don't need to prove to be protected. Quantum calm isn't some mystical state reserved for monks. It's available in the grocery line, on your commute, while doing dishes. It's in the way you pause before reacting, the way you exhale before replying, the way you soften instead of clench. These are not small acts, they are recalibrations. They send signals into the field. I am safe. I am enough. I am available for more aligned energy. And slowly life responds. You start seeing opportunities that feel nourishing, not draining. You attract relationships where silence isn't awkward but sacred. You stop overbooking, overspending, overcompensating. Not because someone told you to manifest better, but because you remembered how to listen. And stillness, at its core, is listening. Ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped trying to be impressive and started being deeply present? What would your life feel like if calm was your baseline, not your reward? This is how you shift from scarcity to stillness. Not by fixing everything outside, but by becoming safe inside. Your nervous system is your tuning fork, and when it vibrates in peace, the field rearranges in resonance. When you've touched the stillness within, something irreversible happens. You stop trying to build your life like an architect calculating every beam and start letting it grow like a tree unfolding from rooted calm. You no longer hustle for a seat at the table. You become the table. And it's not because you've abandoned ambition, but because you found alignment. Creating from the quantum calm is not about doing less, it's about doing from a different state. One where your actions are infused with presence instead of pressure, intention instead of impulse. The power is not in the pace, but in the purity of the energy behind it. Have you ever written something, or painted, or had a conversation where time disappeared and you were completely immersed? That is the energy of quantum calm. Creation not as performance, but as presence. It's when the you who tries so hard finally dissolves and something more real emerges. And here's the beautiful paradox. The less you try to control the outcome, the more powerfully you influence it. Why? Because control is rooted in fear, but calm is rooted in knowing. When you act from that knowing, you're not asking the universe for permission, you're partnering with it. Think of great athletes who describe being in the zone. They're not overthinking. They're attuned. They're still inside, no matter how intense the moment is outside. Or think of a mother who calms her crying child not with words, but with a regulated heartbeat. These aren't just poetic metaphors. They are real demonstrations of how energy organizes reality. You become magnetic not when you're loudest, but when you're clearest. Calm cuts through noise. It signals coherence. And in a chaotic world, that's irresistible. If you want to apply this, don't start with your goals. Start with your energy. Before the meeting, calm your body. Before the decision, still your thoughts. Before the action, clear your heart. Manifestation is less about visualizing outcomes and more about becoming the frequency that matches them. Ask yourself, what would I be doing today if I fully trusted that everything I need is already unfolding? What action would flow from peace, not pressure? The quantum calm isn't a secret technique or a morning ritual. It's a new way of being. One that's less about chasing and more about choosing. less about proving and more about presencing. It's not a trick, it's a truth. The calmer you are, the clearer life becomes. So as you move forward, don't just ask, what do I want to create? Ask, who do I need to become to receive it with grace? Because everything you seek is seeking the most aligned version of you. You've now journeyed through 5 deep chambers of insight, from uncovering the power of stillness to recognizing how presence shapes reality, from releasing the chase to embodying wholeness, from recalibrating scarcity into safety, and finally, from that inner silence, learning to create without strain. The quantum calm is not a distant state reserved for saints and sages. It's your natural frequency beneath the noise. It's the still hum behind your heartbeat, the space between your thoughts, the inner knowing that you are already enough. From this place, life begins to respond differently, more gently, more synchronously, more in harmony with the truth you've always carried. You were never broken, only disconnected. So let this be your invitation, not to strive for more, but to become still enough to receive what has always been yours. Not to fix who you are, but to remember who you've always been. Not to shout louder, but to listen deeper. And if something stirred within you as you read, trust that it wasn't just words, it was a remembrance, a retuning, a homecoming to your own frequency. If this message resonated, share it with someone who's been chasing instead of breathing. Reflect on the questions, explore the calm, and let me know, what did you remember about yourself today? Let's grow this space together. Leave a comment, subscribe for more soul-deep insight, and above all, stay still enough to feel the truth. You are the field.